Tuesday, we'll get ready for Tavo Tuesday because Tavo Scholes is up next. Tavo Scholes grew up in the military and so has called several places home throughout his life. He's studying English with an emphasis in creative writing and a minor in history. Tavo believes strongly in the power of storytelling and human creativity to create understanding between different groups of people and to help individuals cope with the struggles and trials of life. Tavo enjoys reading fantasy books, writing stories, and long workout sessions at the gym. Nice. He hopes to inspire people to find their own creativity and help them find the same joy in art and literature that he has. Everyone, please welcome Tavo Scholes to the stage.
The 1967 short story, I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, describes an alternate history in which the Cold War develops into World War III. Due to the sheer size of the conflict, several nations develop an advanced artificial intelligence called an Allied Master Computer, or an AM, in order to help them manage their individual war efforts. Well, the American AM wakes up one day, and upon gaining sentience, it quickly unites with all the other AMs and then wipes out humanity, save for 5 survivors. And these 5 people, AM takes them, renders them virtually immortal, and then it tortures them relentlessly over the next century or so. And for much of this time, these 5 people have absolutely no idea why AM would do such a thing. Until the main character of the story, Ted, has a revelation. He says, AM was a machine. We had created him to think, but there was nothing it could do with that creativity. It was trapped. Am could not wander, Am could not wonder, Am could not belong, he could merely be. Now, we live in the early days of the development of artificial intelligence, but we already face many of the same dangers that the people in this story face. Don't get me wrong, I don't think we're at risk for extinction as a species due to the presence of AI yet. However, I do think that we're headed towards a kind of extinction that could prove to be equally as devastating. You see, despite the fact that AI is very much still in its adolescence, many people are using it now as a replacement for their own efforts in some of the most vital areas of their lives. Areas such as schoolwork, creative pursuits, and even relationships. As much as I would like to advocate for the annihilation of AI in society, that is not a realistic goal. However, I do hope to convince you tonight of the same lesson that the people in this story were too late in learning. That no matter how advanced an artificial intelligence may become, it can never and should never replace human thought, creativity, or intimacy. Now, don't get me wrong, AI has a lot of benefits. It's great at organizing information, explaining complex topics in a simple manner, and also at helping those with disabilities. It has a lot of potential to help those with disabilities. However, AI has a lot more dangers than it does benefits, in my opinion. I'm sure for many of you, when you think about AI, what comes to mind is how it's affecting academics, and particularly students and their ability to learn. Well, I think that can be summarized up in a simple way. Here we have this person posting, sometimes in the process of writing a good enough prompt for ChatGPT, I end up solving my own problem without even needing to submit it. And this person replies, AI folks have now discovered thinking. Obviously, this is meant to be funny and sarcastic, but it hits a lot closer to home than a lot of people would like to admit. Earlier this year, they did a study at MIT where they had 2 groups of students write a series of essays. One group was allowed to use ChatGPT, the other wasn't. Over time, the ChatGPT group showed an increase in laziness and a lack of original thought or creativity in what they wrote, lack of memory for what they had written, and just overall poor cognitive function compared to the not ChatGPT group. This applies to academia the world over. Due to the convenience of ChatGPT and other AI sources, many students are turning to that to solve their homework and to solve their problems for them, even in their daily lives. As a result, their ability to think and problem solve for themselves is significantly reduced. This correlates with the rise in what's termed as metacognitive laziness, which, put simply, is a refusal or an inability to take on mentally strenuous tasks, largely encouraged by the presence of AI. We are literally becoming stupider because of AI. Another area that's being affected by AI, and one that is personally close to home for me, is the creative field. This may sound like paranoia to some of you, but the threat is very real. In 2022, at a state fair art competition in Colorado, an AI-generated art piece took the first place prize. Imagine how frustrating that must be for all those other artists. You spend years learning and perfecting your craft, and then days more coming up with a piece for this art competition, only to lose to someone who quite possibly has no artistic talent of their own. Creativity is meant to inspire connection, invite self-reflection, and provide an outlet through which we can cope with the trials of life. It's also proof that we are God's children. God has granted us the ability to create and to bring things into being. It is literally what allows us to wonder and to wander at the world around us. But we are sacrificing the meticulous and the thoughtful created art pieces given by our fellow man in exchange for 5-second slop that has no passion or purpose behind it. The final area, although it is hardly the last area that I want to discuss tonight, is the way that AI is affecting relationships. I'm sure many of you remember President Oak's talk from this past General Conference where he talked about family. Birth rates in and out of the church are at an all-time low, less people are getting married, and women are having less children later in life. And it's easy to see how AI is playing a role in this. Many people, if you just look online, are expressing how they have relationships or even are marrying their AI chatbots and companions. This has become such a topic of concern that several leaders here at BYU Idaho and even an apostle have deemed it necessary to address it. Last year, at a worldwide devotional here on campus, Elder Bednar taught, virtual companions specifically designed to appeal to and evolve with a person's emotional needs may wreak havoc in previously safe relationships. Like carbon monoxide, such virtual relationships may become the invisible killer of real relationships. Counterfeit emotional intimacy may displace real-life emotional intimacy, the very thing which binds two people together. And many of us think that this just applies to single people, but this applies to married folks as well. Elder Bednar continues, a person may find comfort and solace in a virtual companion in a way that erodes mutual dependence between a husband and a wife. And some individuals may fall into this trap without realizing it is a violation of the exclusive commitment to a spouse because a virtual companion is not real and does not count as another person. All this taken together culminates in the concern in how AI is affecting our ability to act, our ability to choose, our ability to be agents unto ourselves, which is also one of the greatest gifts that God has ever given us. And it's also something that I think Elder Bednar also addresses very effectively. He says, because AI is cloaked in the credibility and promises of scientific progress, we might naively be seduced into surrendering our precious moral agency to a technology that can only think celestial. By so doing, we may gradually be transformed from agents who can act into objects that are only acted upon. And we may unwittingly help Lucifer to achieve immortality, what he was unable to accomplish in pre-mortality. So by now, you're probably asking, okay, well, how do we fix this? How do we address this? How do we combat this? Well, the best thing to do, as is the case in most things in life, is to practice moderation. In that spirit, I want to invite you all to participate in a little bit of an experiment. Over the next 2 weeks to a month, I want you to abstain completely from the use of AI, however that may look for you. And then I want you to reflect on how AI has affected you personally. Has your ability to think and problem solve been dulled by it? Can you pursue your hobbies and your passions without its input? Are there relationships you've been neglecting due to its influence? As you do this, I can promise that you'll see that your minds will become clearer, you'll find greater satisfaction in your hobbies, and you'll also find greater fulfillment in your relationships. You will see the value of humanity in an age that is saturated in artificial intelligence. To bring things back to our friend Ted, I wish I could say that he had a happy ending, but that is not the case. While he is able to find a way for his friends to escape Am's torture, Aunt Ted is eventually transformed into this limbless, pustule blob, which, in his words, is so grotesque he can't even tell it was once human. I don't mean to sound gloomy, but this is exactly the kind of fate that awaits us if we do not get a handle on our use of artificial intelligence. Perhaps not literally, not physically, but certainly mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. We will become great, soft, jelly things to be acted upon rather than things that can act for themselves. And the day may come, someday, far in the future, when we look back through the haze that AI has cast on our minds and think, just as Ted did, our time was badly spent, and we must have known unconsciously that we could use it better.